Manever I say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there, I see them yopo.
Hello guys, you are once again welcome to PENDREAM TV, the only channel that brings you the best and latest updates in politics. Today we bring you another firebrand. Okoe, who we all know some time ago, came out to spread some false rumor about Mr. Akando. Today has finally met his meter on a live TV, which I would like you to join me listening to what transpired between him and Felix Kwakye. Thank you.
Minister of State in charge of government communication, Dr. Bernard Okoe is a former MP for the Lejokuku constituency and also a medical doctor and a former health minister. In fact, he's here in his capacity as the rep of the New Patriotic Party. There are other things that he's aspiring to become, but I don't know whether I have his permission to publicly declare it on here on the show. I'm sure that when he's ready, he will tell us what it is in terms of what the next phase of his political journey. But anyway, so Felix, so what I'm sure, because you were the one who gave the platform to Akando to make some of these public disclosures. What's your understanding of this whole Lightwave deal?
For me, it's pretty straightforward. But before I go there, let me ground the position I took when we discussed the publication of charges and allegations against people before the matter goes to court. You recall Gofredami's conduct in the Airbus matter. You know that Gofredami publicly named President Mahama as public official one, even before the OSP had concluded the investigations. Eventually, the OSP not clear President Mahama for want of evidence. He did, not so. But before then, Gofredami had pronounced him guilty and called him public official one. So how can the same MPP suddenly complain that Attorney General is giving details backed with factual evidence that has come out of investigations? The Attorney General has bank statements. He has evidence of bank transfers and purchases. And they are saying that he can't speak to it. But Gofredami can call President Mahama government official one and say that he had engaged in some wrongdoing in the Airbus matter before an official inquiry is launched into the matter. So the MPP simply has no case. By their own conduct, they have no case. Moro, you see, the issue at hand in relation to this health wave, light wave conduct is straightforward. To begin with, let me dispel any notion of ill feeling towards the gentleman behind Lightwave, Samson Jabba. Okoe himself has said that our relationship with him started in 2016. So we were the ones who tapped him to begin the process of connecting 23 health facilities, as Okoe indicated, at a cost of $6 million.
So as the Herald published, it is indeed, you can confirm it.
Absolutely.
Samson Jabba is behind Lightwave.
He is behind Lightwave. And I'm sure the name rings a bell.
It does, very much so.
So there cannot be an issue of ill feeling or the simple fact that government have changed. We were the ones who first engaged him on a pilot basis. The issue at hand relates to specific contractual obligations that have not been honored and conduct that has led to losses to the state and compromised the state's ability to run its healthcare system effectively. These are the issues. So for me, there are four basic facts. The first fact is that there is evidence of non-performance. A contract was signed to last for 3 years, involving the connection of 950 health facilities via a health information management system. By the end of the third year, that project had not been completed as required by the contract. 2 extensions were done, a year each, from 2022 to 2023, 2023 to 2024. So it was supposed to elapse on 31st December 2024. By 31st December 2024, it had not been delivered. And the contract had lapsed. So as of the end of last year, no contractual relationship existed between the government of Ghana and Samson Jabba's Lightwave. That is a fact that is not in dispute. That alone enables the government of Ghana to try alternative approaches. That alone, the fact that he could not deliver. Number 2, there's an issue of gaps even in what is said to have been delivered. The major health facilities that Okoe says have been connected to the tune of $77 million. The exact figure is $76.9 million. When an audit was conducted, it was found that there were gaps of up to $18.9 million in both the supply of the hardware, the software, and other services. So, for instance, the contract stipulates that supply this kind of laptop, he brings you an inferior one. Supply this quality of software, he brings you one that has glitches and cannot work. When it was estimated, it amounted to $18.9 million, almost $19 million. That, again, is sufficient basis to dispense with the services of this service provider. And then number 3.
Yeah, sure.
And then number 3, Okoe himself has admitted to payment in excess of actual work done. He says that there was a $10.13 million discrepancy found.
And there's a 7.2.
No.
From their side.
Wait. Hold on a minute. Yeah. You say, indeed, the last payments were done by you, if I'm not mistaken, as health minister.
The last payments were not done. My payments were still outstanding.
But the last payments were authorized by you.
Let's clarity. The payment is not like he supplies. He gave certificates to the tune of, let's say, 70 million or pay 77. That's not the case.
Of course.
It is in reconciliation of the work done. Of course.
But after that payment, it was determined. You yourself have said that your team determined
two things.
You
are stating one.
I can speak.
We claim a surplus of 10.
You cannot claim a deficit of. You as a government official cannot speak for Lightweight. It is up to them to make any claim.
I'm speaking for what we did. We did this before we handled. These are from my notes.
Good. So you must restrict yourself to. When we did the audit as government of Ghana,
yes,
this is what we found.
Yeah,
it is up to Lightweight.
Yeah, that's
what your responsibility is the people of Ghana, not Lightweight. That must be clear. Yes, so that is it.
Not Lightweight.
Anything Lightweight says, it's up to them to use any approach they believe to vindicate their rights. It is not up to the government of Ghana to do that for them. So you cannot, as a government official,
no, but I'm not said so. I'm not holding.
Yes, so the 7 million for me is a red herring. This is 7 million for me is a red herring. They have to prove it. We have conducted an audit, and you see that there's a 10 million payment in excess of the work they did. That is also sufficient basis to dispense with their services, and perhaps even hold to account those who authorize the payment. Moro, these are the facts. So when we took over, Honorable Akando, I can reveal to you, has held 3 meetings with Samson Jaba, 2 in Ghana, 1 outside this country. We took advantage of our presence in New York for Honorable Akando to meet him to resolve whatever issues there were. On all 3 occasions, this gentleman refused to cooperate unless a new contract is given him. Molo,
what was the minister's proposal to him which was expected to
I'm coming to that. We all recall that in the last few weeks, and in fact, the first group of people to make this an issue were MPP propagandists. On Facebook, they accused the government of mismanaging the NHIS, such that suddenly claims cannot be processed and that people were going through inconvenience. Was that not the case?
Did you see me?
Oh, I've not mentioned your name. I said MPP communicators. It is verifiable. This is a fact. This even compelled the NHIS to issue a statement, because I, as government communications minister, immediately got in touch with the NHIS CEO, Dr. Victor Bampo, to inquire as to what was happening. And then he told me that they were going to issue a statement to clarify. And indeed, he sent me that statement before they put it out. So I know that government took steps to even explain what had happened. The communication from the NHIS explained that they were having technical difficulties. Those technical difficulties were because Samson Jaba was sitting in Atlanta, USA, switching the system on and off as part of a blackmail tactic to compel the government of Ghana to do what he wanted. Molo, how can we pay $77 million to an entity and suffer this sort of fate? How should we pay $77 million as a government and have a situation where the person supposed to render the service to us is able to switch it on and off? Not that we owe him. You see, if, for instance, he had done service up to $77 million and we had paid, say, 30, so we owed him $40 million, he can use that as a mechanism to compel us to honor our obligations. But the issue in question does not relate to any outstanding payments. Yet he was able to switch it. So it was when he was switching it on and off, that was why we had that glitch.
Do you know this for a fact?
I know this for a fact. Then, over the last 2 weeks, he completely shut the system off. putting us in extreme difficulty and creating huge inconvenience for the Ghanaian public who went to seek healthcare. So this erratic, irascible behavior again forms basis to part ways with him. Because you see, we are a serious country. So when a whole country has contracted with you for you to perform specific services, you cannot behave in that manner and expect a continuation of the relationship. Because we are not children. He was behaving as though he was toying with us. That he has some toy that he could, throw up and down as he pleased. He forgot that the lives of at least 40 million people were at stake. And yet he did this to us. On the 2 occasions where he came to Ghana, he insisted that if we don't give him a new contract, he was not going to give us administrative access. It is a lack of administrative access on our part that enables him to do what he's doing. Otherwise, he can't do it. How do you pay somebody $77 million to do work on 450 facilities and not have administrative access to them?
But that is not a right he can exercise.
But that is what he was doing.
So
Okoe and Co did not demand access to that. So we don't have it.
And I've said one word. Okay, I'll respond.
Yes, sure.
We do not have administrative. If we had administrative access, we won't be having this conversation. Today, if there's a system glitch in Kolebu, the IT director of Kolebu cannot on his own repair it without recourse to the gentleman in Atlanta.
No.
How do you pay 77 million for this?
It doesn't make sense.
Yes. So that is the situation we have. The reason why the system was off for that number of days was because of this. And you see, Moro, the contract is pretty clear. You see, it is a sub-purchase and supply contract, which means that we were buying the hardware and the software so that we can operate. Mr. Jabe's obligations would then be limited to maintenance to help us maintain it over a certain period. It is not a management contract, as in build the system and manage it for us. In fact, the contract stipulates that when we take delivery of the items and the service and the software, we issue a certificate of acceptance. In contracting, once you do that, means that you own it. So Metro TV wants to
both the soft and hardware.
What's the soft and hardware? We didn't pay for only hardware. The software is not his. It is our property. That's the reason why he had to train people to manage it and operate it. The staff at the various hospitals should be able to address problems with the software. But they are not able to do it because he retains control. And let me re-emphasize that he is not doing this because we owe him money. That he has provided services that we've not paid for. We've paid, and paid him more than what he even deserves. There are even gaps in what he supplied, up to $90 million. It's not up to the standard that he said he will supply. So we don't owe him a dime, and yet he was able to switch the thing on and off. So at the issue, it was obvious that the contract was faulty, and that we were not getting value for money. As for the third meeting in New York, he threw tantrums and used vituperative language on the minister when he demanded administrative access to what he had done. So how can an erratic character like that continue to maintain a relationship with a serious entity, a state like Ghana, through the Ministry of Health? This is at the heart of the matter. That is what there is to it. I have the contract here and I've gone through it. In fact, the contract provides milestones. It states the time frame within which each service ought to be rendered. Each item ought to be delivered. That has not been done. And Okoe's excuse that there were people at the various health facilities sabotaging it is not tenable. It is the reason why you are minister. Look, imagine me having an obligation through my ministry with an entity to provide a service, to say ISD. And then I come and tell you that there are people at ISD refusing to cooperate. What does that make me look like? It is my duty to move mountains to ensure that the service is delivered, especially when I have committed the government of Ghana to do a contract. So the idea that there were people in hospitals attempting to prevent this from happening, it's not tenable. That's why you have the right as minister to dismiss people who are unwilling to carry out your instructions. So it's not tenable. The simple fact is that the contract was not honored. And at this stage, there is no obligation compelling the government of Ghana to deal with them. And in fact, I have also reiterated that we were willing to give the Minister of Health, Honorable Kwakye, proposed this, that he was willing to give him a 2-year engagement to ensure that the rest of the work is done. And then all the problems that had been encountered are resolved. In fact, the contract provides for him. He refused to do so because he wanted a contract And the minister said, no, in the first instance, you've not delivered what we asked you to deliver. The accounts have a saying, if the head that went to grace have not returned, you don't send in more. You retrieve them first. And by all means, the state of Ghana, through the Ministry of Health, should have administrative control over something that we spent tens of millions of dollars to procure. And nobody should be able to sit anywhere in this country, in this world, and switch it on and off as they please. And let me place it on record. It appears that my brother, Okoe, in some of his interviews, set his own questions and answered them. He said that the minister claimed that the entity in question is a foreign organization. The minister never said so. I provide a flat, but I have a speech. I can send it to you.
This thing, I don't know where it's coming from. All this, what the impression was that it's
nobody had created this as a impression. Moro.
It's come from yes.
Moro.
Like
Moro.
to city.
Moro.
I was the first person to show that thing is not true.
Moro.
He started by saying that our data was with
Moro. Say that.
Moro.
He said it on platforms.
Moro.
Really?
Moro,
It's
I'm
an
on the floor.
impression
Okoe, when you speak, I kept quiet. With the greatest respect to you.
Speak to what
Akando has not said. Akando has never said that this gentleman is a foreigner. He is not. He is from Ghanaian. Oh, but you are saying that Akando has said that the entity providing
foreigners.
But that is true. Is that not the case? The people who manage the system are sitting in India.
I mean, what's the evidence to that? Listen. Oh, but let me make my point. No, but it's a simple statement.
Let him. Don't worry. We'll ask him questions. Don't worry.
You see, let me make my point. Moro, listen, Moro. You see, the fact is that the servers themselves don't mean anything. If I bring you a server, or you bring me a server that I cannot control, but you can control from anywhere in the world, you are holding me to ransom. That is the situation now. So it is true that there are servers and systems sitting in various health facilities and the Ministry of Health. But the government of Ghana does not have administrative access. When it turns it off, we can't switch it back on, despite the fact that we've paid for that service.
So hold on. So Felix, when you say the data is sitting in India, what does that mean?
The software that controls it, that is what...
It's being controlled from India?
It's being controlled by people who work for him in India.
Fact?
Yes, the minister has found that out. He's put it out. But he has never said that the entity itself is a foreign company.
Okay.
I know Samson Jaba is of Ghanaian descent. I don't know whether he's a US citizen or not. But that for me is even immaterial. The fact is that there are obligations that he must fulfill that he has not fulfilled. And how Okoe and his colleagues in the MPP at the Ministry of Health at the time were able to put us under the control of such an entity is mind-boggling. How do you do that? And for emphasis, Moro, it is a purchase and supply contract. The contract is clear. I can send it to you. It's a 58-page contract. And you will see clearly that the wording of the language is clear. You see, we are paying consideration for a purchase and supply. Yet, after we've paid all the money, we can't control even the ones that he has done. Forget about the ones that he has not done. And then the outstanding $19 million that we've detected, that was actually not dealt with, that was actually not delivered, it's another matter. And then the $10 million has been paid in excess of what has been done. It's another matter. So in the light of this, the only remedy available to the government of Ghana is to draw lessons from this and have a system that we fully and effectively control, even if we outsource the building of it or the procurement of it to private entities. So the minister indeed said that we do not want a situation where a single entity is able to control our health information management system and plunge us into the crisis that Samson Jaba has plunged us in. So we are going to do two things. First, to put in place a backbone called the National Health Information Exchange. That is what all other service providers will route their service through, so that we retain control of it. Number two, as a matter of emergency, we have to bring back the 450 health facilities that are being affected by Samson Jaba's erratic conduct to connectivity. So, the Ghana Health Information Management System is being put in place. They say that over a 4-week period, they will be able to do this, so that all the 450 that are currently affected will be brought back on stream to manage their system. But it will go through this National Health Information Exchange so that we control it. Nobody can switch it off at will, especially when we have fulfilled our obligations. The second issue is that there's the outstanding 500, which Okoe says is equivalent to just 2 teaching. And indeed, if it was that simple, how has it taken 2 years and still has not been completed? Even if we were to discount the first years, of course, I've heard him throw in the COVID argument again. Because COVID is the almighty response for every single problem we faced under the MPP. He says because of COVID, there were implementation delays, so it could not be done. So what about the 2-year extension that was given him? And if it was that simple, if you could do it at the snap of a finger, how is it that he was not able to do it? If all that it took was the work in 2 teaching hospitals to get these 500 health centers or health facilities connected, why was it not done? Why was it breached? So we must do something about these 500 health centers, Moro. So because of that, we are going to open up a tender process for multiple service providers and entities to put in a bid. The most competitive bids will then be selected to roll out a health information management system for the remaining 500. The 450 we have to do on emergency basis because of the critical situation at hand. But the 500 will take our time to do it. But the underlying objective is that it will not be controlled by a single entity anymore. I think that it makes sense because
Felix, are we going to pay new money for the 550?
No, in fact, the money that is going to be paid for this 450,
for the 450,
the first one, is far less than what is even outstanding to be paid for the rest of the project. But Moro,
really?
But Moro, we have been planned. But if Samson Jaba comes to do, we will pay money anyway, won't we?
Yes. We will.
Yes. If he comes to do in fact, if he had done everything, there will be an outstanding $23 million to pay him. The money for what we are going to do is less than $23 million.
You mean the 450 hospitals that have already been done by networked and digitized by Lightwave? Mm-hmm. You are saying that we are going to spend far less than the 70-something million.
Far less, $60 million. That's the figure I've heard the minister
to do the same
thing.
Project.
Yes. $50 million. Sorry, $60 million. But you see, the point is that there's an inherent advantage in that, unlike the contract that Okoe and his colleagues entered into, this time we have administrative control ab initio.
Okay.
And that nobody can subject us to the hide and seek that Lightwave through Samson Jaba is subjecting us to. So there's an advantage there. Our national security considerations that must be factored into building such a system is also catered for. So all round, this is a much better proposition than what we have. Of course, if Samson Jaba had performed, Lightwave had performed, then we wouldn't need to go through this process. Even if we can raise issues about the amounts involved, at least it has been delivered and it is working. But at the moment, it is not. And it must be placed on record that contrary to the claims that this minister has not been receptive and that he's not been, it is not true. So, sometimes I even wonder how Akano is able to master such emotional intelligence in the face of extreme provocation. There are people who are far his juniors in the sector. Look, he's the overall head of the health sector of Ghana. Nurses insult him publicly. He tolerates it. The General Secretary of the Ghana Registered Nurses Association used very insulting language on him. He tolerated it. So it is not somebody who the ministry has a contractual agreement with and is in charge of such critical infrastructure and systems that the minister cannot sit to engage. So Akando has never shown any hostility to Samson Jaba, except that he has demanded that the interest of Ghana is protected in this matter. And Samson Jaba is unable or unwilling to comply. And that is how come we have this particular situation. Look, for instance, the $10.13 million payment that Okoe speaks about. The information available is that I was supposed to connect 157 facilities, additional facilities. Yet only 7 were connected when the audit was done. Only 7. The 150 are outstanding. And yet he's received $10.86 million for it. $10.13 million for it. So there is no way that this situation can be allowed to fester. So to conclude, let me reiterate the key issues. 4 issues. First, there is no issue of a predetermined dislike for Lightwave because we were the first to engage him. If we had any problem with it, we wouldn't engage him. Number 2, there is absolute certainty about non-performance despite 2 extensions to the deadline. There is the issue of the gaps in the performance that is said to have been delivered, amounting to $90 million. This is contained in an audit. Indeed, when the minister appeared at the Government Accountability, he came with 2 experts. One of the experts actually showed the audit and broke down the issues to the hearing of all Ghanaians. That matter remains outstanding. There's the issue of the excess payment for work done, which Okoe confirms, which remains outstanding. And then there's the issue of our lack of control or access to the system as it's built, and the fact that it is now in the hands of an entity who we have no control over. In fact, Okoe says we should provide evidence for the glitch. Meanwhile, the glitch is happening. It was MP people who were accusing government of mismanaging NHIs. People have gone to the hospitals and seen the glitch and seen that the system doesn't work. In fact, if you read Victor Bampo's statement, he spoke about the alternative measures. In some instances, they had to use a manual system to cover up for the shortfall at the time, pending the resolution of the matter. So for me, it is a straightforward issue.
All right.
Those who entered into this contract, in my view, did not do good by the state of Ghana, by not ensuring that adequate and robust systems were built to protect our interests.
Okay. Let me read a few messages up, and I'll bring in. So we'll find a while. Just a few messages. Now, Kwakye was the Director of Communications of the NDC. He says that, good morning, my dear Moro. Please ignore the ugly noises from the MPP propagandists who are talking about the presumption of innocence before trial, etc. Who has tried Prince Andrew for him to suffer the humiliation he has suffered lately? Do you, as a person, believe that Adolf Hitler was innocent from his responsibility in the crimes committed during the Second World War just because he was never tried? The court work on our behalf. They don't work for themselves. We as a people have enough common sense and knowledge to distinguish between right and wrong. Was it not Akufo-Addo himself who personally requested the OSP to investigate John Mahama on the Airbus matter? On what basis did he do that? So there's a friend of mine who plays in the IT space, and he's just telling me that he says, Moro, I've spoken with the IT guys at the ministry. They don't have access to their data, and it's unfortunate. It's coming from Prince, who's a regular viewer of the show. Now, Mansa Musa, who is sending us a message all the way from the UK, says, please pose this as a question to both of them if they can answer. Moro, how come that any time in our democratic dispensation, when there is a changeover, many or some previous arrangements or engagements present so much friction or tension that has to be argued over and sometimes needing drastic changes? My question is it that our administrators do not possess the required capacity to get things right the first time round? Why can't we trust and rely on our authorities to get things done properly in first instances? Mansa Musa, I'm baffled. Good morning. Have a pleasant weekend, all of you. Chris Ashali from Boye says, Moro, Dr. Okoe looks great even in opposition. But my problem is, why can't he admit the wrong his government had committed against the people of Ghana? Honorable Felix has spoken the minds of ordinary Ghanaians this morning. Chris from Ashali Boye sends that message. Samuel Brian Boabing comes in. He says, Moro, I personally have no problem with accountability. Every public official, past or present, should be able to account for their stewardship whenever they are called upon. My only issue is the media trial, the pronouncement of guilt even before the court says so, and the outrageous bill bond seemingly designed to punish the accused persons. In the Saglemi $200 million scandal, Alhaji Collins Dada was granted self-recognizance bail, with the only condition being that he deposits his passport with the court. In the 271.3 million Cocoa Board scandal, Dr. Puni and Mr. Sedu Angongo were each granted self-recognizance bail of 300,000 cedis. So what has changed? That others are now being given 800 million cedis bail with 6 sureties to be justified with landed property. This should guide all public officers to conduct themselves well, because under a future MPP government, the NIB and Yoko might demand nuclear reactors as bail bonds. Samuel Brian Boabing from Awoshi. Kojochu says that, good morning, Dr. Okoe. It looks like the article has caught you. You people should just pack her up. What you have collectively done to the people of Ghana will all be revealed. Prosper Ashikwe, a salam down, is where he's writing from. He says, I miss Dr. Okoe. He says, Jay-Z sarcasms. He said, well, I miss Dr. Okoe's Jay-Z sarcasms already. He said, don't I love him? Moro, there's more to this software issue than we know it. This is an unfolding story. I will hold my submissions for now. I will write a long piece very soon. Honorable Okoe's submission is an expose on its own. And let me take this last two before we take the break. No, Seth Ayi from Accra says, what's Dr. Okoe saying? Is he saying the government didn't have a control over the public health facilities such that they resisted light wave? He should please spare us. Alhaji Hamza from Pig Farm says that, Assalamu alaikum, my brother. Assalamu alaikum, Alhaji Yade. Moro, please tell Okoe to proceed to court if he is not happy with the style of the AG. For God's sake, governance and democracy is for the people, by the people, and for the people. And for that matter, I see nothing wrong if the AG decides to carry the citizens along. And he says the MPP is trying to run away from accountability, and they must not be allowed for them to have their way. My brother, just listen to the revelations that is coming out from the Public Accounts Committee. I now understand why President Mahama said this country was a crime scene under President Anadu and the MPP. But truth be told, Honorable Felix has made my day this morning. He's too tough to be handled. He has demonstrated to show that he is on top of the issues this morning. I salute him for that. He should please keep it up. And Chris, I just read your message, and you probably didn't hear me. So Mr. E.D. Mokhtar, a very good friend of mine who lives in Adenta, who says that Moro asked Dr. Okoe that must everything be defended even when it's obvious and crystal? They should please give us a break. So I'll come back. Weaponize to sort of stifle dissent and to roll back these decades of democracy that we've all enjoyed. And so you would have to have a complete rethink about these bills. Of course, we're being told that it's under some kind of consultation, you know, stakeholders are being consulted left, right, center. But the bill in its current form, it's not what we should be encouraging. What is the philosophy driving this whole idea?
Moro, you see, it is precisely because the bill will require fine-tuning that the stakeholder consultation is being done.
Right.
That is the whole idea of molding the bill into something that we all accept. You see, there are simple facts. The truth is that we have entered a new age of media, where through technology, the frontiers of speech are being expanded. We all know that it has very useful purposes. It helps. For instance, in the past, if I wanted to issue a statement, I would have to bring a hard copy to you. And then if you are magnanimous enough, you will read it to the hearing of viewers. If you are not in the mood, it gets buried. But now, I put a statement on my Facebook page, my X account page, and it goes viral. Everybody sees it. In fact, sometimes you in the traditional media actually have to curl your reports from what I've posted. So there's no filter. It gets to people. We also do know that precisely because of the widespread nature of this technology and its wide reach, it is being subjected to abuse by certain individuals. And every government has a responsibility to protect its citizens from that kind of abuse. As I sit here, I'm an MP. There are people who have cloned my accounts. Several of them. Every day I get a complaint of how somebody has been duped in my name. Because people can clone my account, use a fake account to extort money from people, and create the impression that I'm the one behind it. So then it gives people confidence that it must be legitimate. That happens. There are people who deliberately spread disinformation with a view to damaging other people's reputations or sowing seeds of confusion in society. Let me give you an example. There's an entity called Ghana Today, which I can state is an MPP creation. What they did is that there was an old Ministry of Education Facebook page, which had about 40,000 followers. They just changed their credentials and called it Ghana Today. They put out deliberate falsehood and disinformation about people all the time. And this is operated by the MPP. We actually have an idea of who actually is behind it. And very soon it will be closed in on. They put out information that they know to be false. That creates panic and needlessly destroys people's reputation, even before you have the opportunity to respond. That kind of thing cannot be condoned. So if you are putting out accurate information, you are doing it ethically, you should not have any fear of any legislation. So the bill says that you are simply not allowed, for instance, to create a false social media account to spread falsehood about Moro. This is reasonable. It does not in any way infringe upon your right to air your views. For instance, if you said that I, as government communication minister, is hopelessly incompetent, who will come and arrest you for it? And that I should be dismissed. I'm utterly useless. I don't know my job. Who will dismiss you for it? Today, who will arrest you for it? Okoe has criticized us. He says that we are overstating the achievements and that it is not unusual. There's a criticism of our conduct. Ahiagba has just posted something criticizing us for the AG's handling of the cases that he is prosecuting. Who will go and arrest Richard Ahiagba? for expressing such a view, for expressing such a criticism of the Attorney General. But if Richard Ahinyagba comes to put out information that he knows to be false, deliberately intended to create panic, it is the duty of law enforcement officials to look into it. And this happens everywhere in the world. This happens if you go and put up a Facebook post threatening somebody. Donald Trump, only a month ago, there's a lady who threatened to kill him, posted on social media, who has been jailed for doing so. And this is the most liberal democracy in the world. Of course, there may be elements of the act that may not necessarily meet with the expectations of the public. In fact, let me also disclose that only this week I have signed off to my office's contributions to that bill.
Oh, to this bill?
To this bill, exactly. Okay. So the consultation is going on. I signed it off because the ISD is the entity representing us on that matter. So they brought recommendations which I perused and agreed with, and I've signed it off. So it's going to the Minister for Communications.
Did you have any disagreements with aspects of the bill?
No, there are not significant disagreements.
Okay.
Maybe it's the wording and the structuring and what we believe to be components that can enhance the efficacy of the bill. So I've highlighted it.
Are you fine with the cybersecurity courts that will be set up to deal with persons who...
Of course, but of course there are special courts are created. Special courts are created all the time.
Okay.
So if I set up on my own Facebook account, I threaten Okoe with beheading, why should I go scot-free? That is clearly a crime. So in order that I don't go and add up to the clogged up court system, a special court is created so that we can deal with it expeditiously. There's nothing wrong with it. We have said, and the Ghanaian people accept it, that we will set up special courts to deal with Galamsey. We have spoken about bringing back the tribunals to speed up the prosecution of cases, to relieve the courts of the pressure that they are facing. I don't think anybody has a problem with that. You see, so let me assure that President Mama is not interested in curbing anybody's right to free expression. Indeed, he is somebody who is actually often criticized by members of the NDC for being too tolerant of opponents. Manes Azuri is one of President Mama's fiercest critics. About 2 months ago, the president allowed him access to his office to have a meeting with him.
The MPP says they've lived with this for 8 years. Why can't you?
Live with what?
They've lived with this disinformation, fake news for 8
years. But they themselves are primary purveyors of disinformation. I've told you about Ghana Today, which is an MPP outlet. In fact, I know for a fact, you recall that there was actually some research in the lead up to the 2024 elections which showed that they actually had a troll facility, a troll house, where they were paying people to generate fake accounts to spread lies about people. The MPP had it. Okoe can't deny it. It is there. The expose was made. So they themselves are the prime purveyors of disinformation in this country. They know it. So it is surprising that, or it is not surprising, that they will be unhappy that these illicit activities will be addressed using law. But that law is not meant or targeted at people who offer criticism or even harsh, strident criticism of the president or the government. That is not the issue. It is those who use it to commit crimes, offenses. To the cybersecurity law, for instance, is meant to protect people from being needlessly extorted and exploited by miscreants, those who create false accounts to do people. It is supposed to keep them.
In fact, just this morning,
sure.
You know Professor Ajimai?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Someone just sent me a text this morning, and I don't know if you've also received the same text message. But this is what the person writes, and you know, and I just this morning, it says, and it's from Professor Ajimai.
Yes.
It says, hello, good morning. Trust you're doing good. Can you transfer 10,000 cedis to 02574853339? You received it too.
It's a straight. In fact, for many months, Moro, for many months, and in opposition, I was a staff of President Mama's office. For many months,
yes,
we had to contend with a text message that was making the rounds. That the office of former President Mama at the time was organizing some promotion and was sending 1,000 Ghana cedis to people to help them out of poverty or something. And this message got forwarded several times. Yeah. In fact, the Cybersecurity Authority had caused to issue a statement cautioning people against this fraudulent activity. But it still went on. The people behind it were never sought after and they were never dealt with so that you don't do it. Currently, we've had to deal with an AI-generated video in which President Mama is purported to be endorsing cryptocurrency or something. Completely fake. You know, but there are people behind these things who are using this. And when you do that, you're actually committing an offense. You are attempting to defraud people. You are using the image and personality of the president to lure people into some activity, which is fraudulent.
Okay.
So if the cybersecurity authorities get such a person and prosecute him through the force of law, they will go to a court. So a judge will determine your guilt or otherwise. I don't think that the intent behind it can be assailed. So of course, we agree that there may be portions that people disagree with.
Okay.
Eventually, it will come to Parliament where the minority is present. It will be debated. It will be opened up for scrutiny, and all those sections that are problematic, they'll be addressed, and either amended or expanded.
And briefly, do you disagree with those who also say that fair enough, valid concerns, but there are already existing civil and administrative remedies that we can employ to deal or to address these concerns? You didn't have to, introduce these new laws, and that this one would land a lot of people in trouble.
The cybersecurity law actually exists. It exists. Yes. It's only an amendment.
Right.
The misinformation bill is something that had been worked on before we came to power. Right. I know that because ISB has been involved in it. In fact, UNDP and other organizations have been involved in crafting something to address that. It's a global phenomenon that many governments are worried about. But there's no specific law that addresses the emerging technologies and their misuse.
Okay.
So we need to strengthen existing law and fill in gaps by enacting new laws that address the abuse. Okay. And let me emphasize, it is abuse. If you go and post that the Ghanaians should vote against the NDC candidate in 2028 because we are a useless government, nobody will arrest you.
Okay.
However, if you go and post that President Mahama is organizing a giveaway, and so send your number or send some Momo amount to a certain number to qualify another, you are clearly abusing it. You are clearly committing a crime, and it should be dealt with.
Okay.
So that is what it is.
A very good friend, Nana Osapon of the UP, he sends a message. He says that please ask Dr. Okoe what then is the essence of raising an observation during an audit. I think he's still referring to the light wave matter. Can he tell the reason for an exit conference during the end of an audit? These two activities give the organization being audited an opportunity to know and to make responses to issues. Now, what makes him think the issues are not known to the organization and do not know the issues? Then the audit wouldn't have been complete to even allow a report to be published. That's Nanayao. And also, Alhaji Suwari says that Moro, the NPP's 8 years in office plunged the nation into serious challenges. The NDC is now working to reset Ghana into a path of progress and prosperity. It is therefore ironic that the very people who created the mess are now the loudest critics. They should give us a break. Honorable Akando should do what is best for Ghana and should not allow the NPP to distract him. Prosper Shikwe is back. Unyami, Prosper. Okoe sounds like the PRO of Lightwave. He has too much information. The more he diverges, the vulnerable he should stick to
his role as minister and that of the government. He should leave any concern that Lightwave has.
No, he chooses how to address the issues.
But then people would then associate it with Lightwave. It should not be fair to him.
All right.
So it depends on how.
Doc,
this is.
After listening to him, you should be supporting the government's move, shouldn't you?
No. I mean,
to deal with fake news.
Oh, okay, but quickly.
Okay.
The one who sent the message.
Right.
The kind of audit he's talking about, which is the standard audit that an organization formally rise to its stakeholders and does. That's not what happened.
Okay.
Lightwave was not written to that you are being audited. As we speak, that's the reason why it's difficult for the minister to produce that audit. It didn't go through the exit conference on all this. This never happened.
Okay.
It's just a matter of I'm going to see what you do myself. I have a report with me. And I said, let's do things properly. Look, if you read the book, Why Nations Fail,
right,
the book tells you that it is communities or societies that are open to ideas that are able to normally grow in terms of economic growth. Those that stifle people's ideas and thoughts and comments end up becoming stale or dying in terms of growth with time. With all due respect, again, let me say that democracy is a kind of political system that is willing to tolerate the comments of a fool, no matter how reckless or stupid the comment is. But when the recklessness can disorganize society in terms of our harmony or in terms of how things are, by injuring someone, their reputation, or causing chaos, the place or remedy is not at the police station or is not in a cell. It is in a civil court. That's the West. Civil court where the person will be treated like someone who is dealing with a civil case. It is at that forum that you can be either surcharged, sanctioned, or whatever. But you try as much as possible not to put people in handcuffs for comments that they have made. And in studying speech, comments, intent, and all that, it is not straightforward to tell where the line is between a comment that was meant to be harsh at somebody and that was meant to actually hurt the person. And that's why if you, the administrator of the society, as in the government, thinks that this has harmful consequences, send it to the courts where it is no longer in your domain. You see, I keep on saying this thing. When you appear at the court as a government, you are going to a third party. That thing is at the heart of fairness. But I always cringe when I see administrations that govern society, like a government, wanting to say that largely I will tell that you've done wrong. And you see, I'm not saying this law, they will say I will tell. But immediately the law is such that they can arrest you first, detain you before charging you. The shame you face, the detentions you go through, by the time they even appear before the platform, they've done enough damage to you that it is inconsequential what happens in the courts. And look, if you are in government today, if it takes 30 years, you leave government. So always be interested in making sure that anything that can be abused is stopped as early as possible. I don't know where this law is coming from. But if the NDC is convinced that all the laws we have are good enough to make the noose around our neck in terms of behave yourself tight enough, you wouldn't add an extra layer. An extra layer means that you want to tighten the noose. Let's be careful. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but it is easy for a leader who is not tolerant to go under the guise of some two people are misbehaving and passing a law that cuts all. I don't have the details. My prayer is that, and he quoted Trump, there are very serious things happening in America that out of 100 presidents, only one would try to do. Trump is an outlier. Only few presidents can sue a network and say that pay me this amount. They come and settle before you even talk to them. Only few presidents will tell a journalist, you are stupid, move here, I'm not even talking to you. He's an outlier. What you try to do, even if you are young democracy, is to look at the gold standard. Don't go and quote places where, because you have a leader who has his issues, people easily are paraded and all that. No, I don't remember the last president that charged a former, let's say, FBI director on issues and things like that. So, with all due respect, whatever is being done, and you see, two things happen to you when you don't listen. The last time Dr. Nyawuta Maklo said something on, is it TV3 or something, very powerful. He said, if you're a government official, listen to what the callers and texters are saying. It is coming from the ground. If you are I've seen social media people complaining, if you are bringing a law that is sort of trying to identify who is saying what and what, the question is that why are you interested in that? The people who voted for you or the public is telling you, you are looking for us to come after us. You say, no, I'm not coming after you. At the end of the day, if you do what you want to do, you risk two things. Society progressively becomes silent or unscribable. People don't write. People put it in their head. Or the reverse is that you have what happens in certain countries where the Gen Zs and the rest, when they think their leader is trying to suppress them, they go on the streets. Or the last one is people keep quiet. When it comes to elections, if they are not happy, they come at you. So a word to the wise enough, you can be confident about what you are doing, but just be careful that you don't tighten the noose around people's neck. And secondly, just be careful that you don't treat people like criminals in trying to define or find out in the courts whether what they've said. No, Moro, imagine if you tell me that, doctor, appear in the court tomorrow because you said something on Metro. If I know I have to drive to a court with my lawyer, they listen to my case, go home, and I know that the law doesn't put you in jail. Even getting a lawyer is enough punishment. You know, there are some things once you start going through, and that's why it's used in civilized organizations. You even driving to a court is enough deterrence that next time when you are writing, think of it. But with all due respect, what I've seen over the past few weeks is that the processes engaged in previous laws. Oh, you said something that they have some formal law, a famous law, public distress, public peace. The kind of things you go through even before you appear before a judge. It is even better for you if you didn't go through any process. So
let me ask you this. Okay.
Yes.
You agree in principle that we have a problem. We have a problem with disinformation and the spreading of fake news. That you agree.
No, of course.
Your problem is how we're dealing with it.
No.
How we're addressing it.
Yes, two main things are important.
Now, if the existing laws were sufficient to deal with the problem of fake news, and I'm sure that you have perhaps, I don't recall, but I'm sure you have been a victim of fake news. Yeah. If the sufficient laws were enough, okay, why do you think that this fake news problem is getting out of hands? And don't you think that as a responsible government, they ought to do something about it. We can criticize some aspects of the bill, but don't you think that the fact that the government wants to do something about it is a good move?
There are certain things you must stomach and be willing to receive when you're a public officer. In fact, most of those things will not even come to when you're a private person.
Right.
The point I want to make is that democracy, which allows both the wise and the fool. You see, you take two extremes. So, there are some things that when I hear from some people, even if it's against me, first thing I'll think is that what's your level of education? Some people don't even have the cognitive power to understand what they are even saying.
Yes.
So we are all not the same in terms of our capacity. So if you are in charge of the whole country, know that the wise man will speak, in quote, a fool will also speak. You don't tell the fool to shut up because he's speaking nonsense, but you must categorize him. All I'm saying is that if you are going after a criminal, who will have a problem with if you are going after a criminal? But where speeches or thoughts are against someone or an entity, obviously against, and in coming to answer whether you are wrong or not, look at the two girls who were brought from Ashanti region. They had to be moved from one region to Accra, put in cells for 2 weeks, and in all that process, they are not been declared guilty. It's now that a judge was supposed to determine whether they get bail or not. 2 weeks in cells, 2 young girls in this country, and for Christ's sake, they are not taking a gun to shoot anybody.
Right.
They are not used a knife, but they had said something that government was now going to a court for the court to determine whether it was against the law or before the law. My issue is that if 2 girls can be brought from Ashanti region, not for having used a knife, but having put forward speech, kept in cells for 2 weeks before a judge says that go home as we continue the case. If I have to speak now, I will not be surprised if the case is lying somewhere. It's not good. You realize that if you can't conclude on such a case and it's still ongoing, someone might think that maybe your interest was showing them where power lies. So these are legitimate concerns, because tomorrow if the table changes and I'm told that Felix has been invited because he wrote something on Facebook, in the meantime, whilst the judge is considering, the thing is so alarming that he should be in remand for 1 week. The so alarming is still the comment of the one handling the case, who largely is being controlled by an appointee. Anytime you see that something can be abused to hurt your brother, start to protect yourself by speaking against it.
Right.
I rest my case.
I make an intervention. You see, let me emphasize that nobody seeks to curtail anybody's right to free speech. And I've given you specific instances. The girls he spoke about said, one, they were going to ensure the killing of President Mahama. When they are done, they will behead the First Lady. It is not speech. It is the threat of a crime. If I sit here and I tell Okoe, I will kill you, I have committed a crime, even though I'm speaking. It cannot be allowed. When Kennedy Japan asked that guns should attack Ashantis, it was not speech. He was committing a crime by inciting people to violence. It is that kind of activity that the law.
He says tolerate it.
No, but how do you? No. But how do you tolerate? Look, how do you tolerate a situation where an MP, a highly influential person, calls on one ethnic group to attack another, when you know that kind of thing can lead to genocide, it can lead to conflict. So laws are made for it. You cannot live in a chaotic society. But if Kennedy Japan said that President Mahama was incompetent, was hopeless, should be voted against, or there should be a censure motion in Parliament brought against him, or impeachment proceedings should start, there's a CPP activist who says he has petitioned Parliament to impeach President Mahama over Galamsey, it's Wayo or something. Who has arrested him for saying that? But when you clearly commit an offense by threatening another person, by going to use creating a fake account, because you know what you are saying is not desirable and it's against the law, you want to hide your identity, hide behind anonymity to commit a crime, the law must deal with you. Look, Boye is here speaking about the need for tolerance and allowing free speech. You know Bongo ideas. There's a boy who I'm sure is not even 30 years old yet. He said some despicable things about Mrs. Rebecca Kufuado some time ago. As for him, they didn't even take him to court. They abducted him. NSB officials abducted him, subjected him to torture, took control of his gadgets, and made it impossible for him to have access to it again, because he said unsavory things about the former First Lady. If such a person is arrested lawfully by law enforcement officials and taken to court, and the court determines that he is guilty or not guilty, at least due process would have been used. But they kidnapped him, which is extrajudicial activity. for saying things about the former First Lady. Your friend Bobi answer. There was some land around cantonments. He claimed that that land belonged to Mrs. Rebecca Kufuor and the former Second Lady, Haji Asamiri Bawumia. For saying that, when we came to power, he was still standing trial. In fact, I don't even know whether the case is still pending. For spreading misinformation to cause fear and panic. That's the charge they leveled against him. This was under the MPP. So again, you even wonder, the MP people complaining now, what standard they are even using, Moro, to assess the situation. They were willing to kidnap people. Moro, you heard about the Edubuayin case. The lady who is the airport services manager of Emirates, who denied Edubuayin boarding rights because he was late. You saw that she was kidnapped. Was he not kidnapped? Right. Extrajudicial activity, because actually it is not an offense to deny somebody boarding rights when they are late. For doing that, she was kidnapped the next day or so by law enforcement officials who acted extrajudicially. It is not that kind of abuse that we are talking about. Again, the process will be transparent and fair. Because when you say that because you are brought to court, a certain punitive measure would have been imposed on you, then we should scrap the entire law enforcement system. Because in fact, the truth is that, as I sit here, there was a day that I woke up and a complete falsehood that I had gone to buy 2 houses in the aftermath of the 2016 elections. They attributed the claim to Mr. Rawlings. Because of that, do you know that the OSP actually penciled me down for investigation?
Really?
Because of that falsehood. They said all those things about me. Did they not? It was a complete lie. In fact, Mr. Rawlings didn't even mention my name, but Okoe Boye's communicators in the MPP, they orchestrated this character assassination against me. So the special prosecutor published the list of cases he was investigating, and my name was there because of this lie. Indeed, my father, who is resident in the United Kingdom, actually called to find out whether indeed I had procured such houses and had not told him. My wife actually woke me up at dawn to question me on that allegation. I have been to places where people didn't know I was there, and the matter was being discussed. People swore that I owned those houses. And this was done by NPP people. So they caused me all that reputational damage. And I tolerated it. Boro. So the same people cannot turn around and say that something untoward has happened when government is trying to legislate such that the abuse, and these are new media platforms, the structures are in place to address issues involving traditional media. Then the defamation and whatever, people use it as and when they please. I may choose to disregard it. But when you hide behind social media to spread disinformation, you go and pick videos of some youth brandishing sophisticated weapons in another country and say that it is Ghana and that an imminent attack is about to happen. Look, there are people who are stoking the Boku conflict, who are describing people belonging to either side as animals who need to be murdered, who need to be killed, who need to be slaughtered. And I'm sure you've picked up those sentiments. In fact, there was an operation that has not been disclosed yet of people who were actually picked up because they were trapped and picked up because they were inciting, seeking to stoke the flames, the embers of conflict in Boku, by using exceptionally incendiary language. Every law enforcement authority anywhere in the world should retain the capability to address these excesses through lawful means, because we are not going to kidnap people for saying so. We will go through a certain legal process so that a properly constituted court determines your guilt or otherwise. That is what happens to everybody. Everybody who has been accused of a crime. Look, the gentleman who is accused of killing his friend, every time he goes to court, you see what happens. Armed officials have to escort him. If people want to lynch him, has anybody pronounced him guilty of any offense? It's only an accusation against him by the state, based on what the state perceives to be evidence. The matter is in court, but every day he goes to court, you see the treatment he endures. His pictures are, he is handcuffed, and law enforcement officials have to protect him. They have to bring the vehicle very close to the entrance so that the family of the murder victim are baying for his blood. He's not a politician. It has nothing to do with politics. But this is what he's going through, because the law prescribes that That has to. But the law is there for a reason. It is to ensure sanity. Otherwise, there should be no laws. We should live in a jungle. So you can't live in a society that is not regulated.
Guy has actually done what is done.
No. He has been accused. No, Okoe. It's the same principle.
But the act,
no.
The accusation,
it has happened.
Of the action,
yes,
there are two different.
No. If you let me land, if you let me land, you see, there are different offenses. I'm sure, Moro, you know that there are some countries where anti-Semitism is a crime.
Right.
There are countries where today, if you deny the Holocaust, it's a crime. It is what you say. The example I gave about Trump, it is not an extreme. It is not happening because Trump didn't take the woman to court. It was U.S. law enforcement officials who did it, because you simply are not allowed to threaten anybody with death.
We shouldn't drag it.
No, I'm not. You see, it is important. It is important to address this.
Right.
And I'm raising it so that the impression is not created.
We are going to 12.
Don't worry, the impression is not created that merely because you criticize government or you don't like government. I am a fierce critic of the MPP. I'm a fierce critic of Pendakufa. But we've also tolerated all the criticism that you. Why? And Yagba's criticism has it not been tolerated?
Yeah.
So there is criticism. No, there is criticism, and then there is abuse and the commission of a crime.
Okay.
You can commit a crime by what you say. Moro, if we live in this society and we allow for somebody to say that kill all Evers, kill all guns, what kind of society are we going to build? Is it acceptable speech? Is it acceptable conduct?
Point well made. I guess point well made.
All I'm saying is that if speech is injurious to the society, in advanced democracies, in medicine, we have something we call, when you are talking about treatment for any disease, the lecturer will ask you what is the gold standard. It means there might be other treatment, but there's always one, which is the model for all.
Right.
I said the gold standard in democratic institutions, civilized communities, that speech is treated through the civil procedure.
All right.
And it is
No. Threat of death is speech. Okoe, if I say today, Okoe,
listen carefully. Listen.
No, I beg you. If I say today that Okoe, I will kill you. It is speech, but it is an offense. You understand me?
Because, like I said, cognitive powers are different. You can have someone who is, let's say, in my community, Teshi, whose capacity is not like me. You go like, Felix, Magbele. He say, kill Felix. Meanwhile, he himself, he doesn't have what it takes to kill a fowl. So in advanced community, what they do is that if the one in charge of the society thinks that this guy, he is not like Okoboy's person, he has guns, he has money, the society will produce
if you don't look into it, how do you determine that? So you look into it.
The capacity will be determined.
Yes, but the court has to determine that.
But that's what I'm saying.
The court can come to a conclusion. The court can come to a conclusion that yes, this guy spoke, but he doesn't have capacity, so I'll throw the case out. Yes, but let an authority determine that.
That process, the process is such that in advanced communities, the police wouldn't come to your house and put you in handcuffs. They would let you know that report yourself, you've been charged. Go appear before this court next week. That is all. So I'm talking about. But that is really all persons. But what we are seeing, if you have done it like that,
all persons charged with offences in Ghana go through the same. You are first arrested and given bail. From the murderer to the person who commits larceny.
We might be saying the same.
They go through the same thing.
In an advanced community, they would have please. But why are you not? You are not patient. They would have.
Well, I'm sorry that I have to.
Yeah, they would have been.
I disagree with what you are saying.
Let's say you get a letter that you posted this. Go to Metro Police Station. You will be charged. You appear before court on Monday on what you've said. You see the procedure. So they are not paraded before people, put in handcuffs, sent on remand. No. See, these are the things done to a criminal. The guy who raped someone in UK. The way he was treated, because you raped, the thing you are being accused of.
It is still an accusation. It is still an accusation.
See the two different treatments.
That's not different. It's still an accusation.
So these TikTok girls, again, let me come to go.
It's an accusation.
In a civilized society where democracy is very well entrenched, they would have been seamlessly. They will go themselves. They've been charged. They appear before court. What's the
first? You first need to locate them.
How do you fault the government for the publicity that came with that arrest?
You forget the publicity.
Exactly. It's a media.
I'm saying that they will not be put in police vans in handcuffs. Sent to now as we speak, unless I get counter information. Up to now, the case has not been determined as in a jail. So you get.
But the case against Boye has not been determined. Has it? It has not been determined.
I mean,
listen. As for the law enforcement process, it is a standard. Everybody goes through it. There are people.
All people are not.
No.
When you meet a hardened criminal,
it's not true.
If you have an armed robber who has
in his view, it was a bit high-handed. The way the other, how do you call it? The guys who threatened the life of the president, in his view.
No, but that's, you see, you are talking about a process.
I'm not
But
saying
the fact that, listen,
I'm not saying
that one is, it may be fair criticism. Listen,
we are building a community.
It may be a high-ended approach. It may be fair criticism that you are leveling.
Yes.
Granted.
Yes.
But the fact that if you say what the girl said, you have committed an offense, and law enforcement.
I don't think he disagrees with that.
Then there's no issue, really. Then there's really
if somebody
no
says
issue.
they'll kill the president,
Exactly, there's no issue.
will it really matter who they are?
Moro, if I said I will kill you, despite my status, I will be picked up by law enforcement, as I should.
Let's do this. Let's do this in just 10 minutes.
Yes.
In just 10 minutes. In just 10 minutes. I mean, Ken Oforiatta has finally been charged. So OSP to prosecute Oforiatta 5 for this over SMS deal. The Joshua Bediakukum Singh of the Daily Graphic is reporting that the Office of the Special Prosecutor has indicated that it will prosecute 6 former senior public officials, including the former Minister of Finance, Ken Oforiatta, for their alleged roles in what it describes as the unlawful and wasteful engagement of Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited in revenue assurance contracts with the Ghana Revenue Authority. The prosecutions are expected to start before the end of November 2025, following what the OSP describes as overwhelming evidence of procurement irregularities, poor value for money outcomes, and undeserved payments to the company. The other officials to be charged are the chef de cabinet to Ken Oforiatta as Minister of Finance, Ernest Akori, a former Commissioner General of the GRA, Emmanuel Kofinti, former Commissioner General of the GRA, Mishadai Owusu Amua, former Commissioner of the Customs Division, current General Manager of SML, Isaac Rental, and the former Commissioner of the Customs Division and current Member of Parliament for German South, Kwejo Damoa. Now, addressing the news conference in Accra today, the Special Prosecutor, Kisi Ejabin, said the 6 would face corruption and corruption-related charges, and that his office would seek to recover financial losses caused to the country through the controversial SML contract. Just briefly, 5 minutes each, so that we can go, because we don't have all day. 5 minutes each.
Yeah, well, but for me, I mean, the special
just 5 minutes each.
So you should just get on with it. That's all. I mean, if he says he has evidence, he's a law enforcement official. I mean, despite whatever views you may have about the existence of the office and how he carries himself, he is still a law enforcement official. Under existing Ghanaian law, he has a right to do what he's doing. So if he says he has evidence, he can proceed to do what has to be done. Of course, people are getting concerned that there's a bit more talk than actual action. It is also unclear at this stage as to the level of cooperation he has given the Attorney General to cause Mr. Ken Oforiatta's extradition. Indeed, there are legal experts who have suggested that he doesn't even need Mr. Oforiatta to be present. He can proceed to charge him in absentia and prosecute him in absentia. So these are options open to him. Without that, in the absence of that, I don't think there's anything more.
He also took advantage of yesterday's presser to basically to dismiss or to set the record straight on his relationship with the Attorney General. And
but I'm not sure that anybody, in terms of the personal relationship, anybody has talked about it. It's about a professional relationship.
Yes. Good. Last week, a lot of the newspapers were, you check the news, check the headlines.
I don't think that we focus. I don't think we focus. I suspect that it's about a professional rift rather than a personal. I don't see why they will have any personal. But the Attorney General has said that he needs a full docket, because you see, again, there are standards in the society where we seek to bring Mr. Oforiatta back from are pretty high. Because of the tendency for governments to abuse their mandate and abuse laws and all that, they look out for clear evidence of wrongdoing in order to cooperate. Indeed, we demand same. In the case of the gentlemen that were extradited for alleged involvement in carjacking and the car theft and what have you, they brought us a comprehensive docket backed by clear evidence of what they believe has gone wrong before the Ghanaian authorities were convinced enough to cooperate with them. Okay. So they also demand same. Okay. So I hear that he says he has sent an extradition packet. I don't know what that means. Whether a packet is the same as a docket. Perhaps he needs to clarify. Okay. The Attorney General says, bring me the docket. Let me see what you have. And then on that basis, I can proceed to engage the American authorities to bring Mr. Oforiatta to this jurisdiction for us. I think it's a fairly straightforward demand. Okay. Which should be met, in my honest view.
So Maxwell says it's a message. Maxwell from Accra says that is...
Thank you for watching PENDREAM TV. We really appreciate your time and say God bless you for the good work you are doing and continue to do. Please, if you have really enjoyed this video, leave a comment below, like and also share to other members to watch as well. Do subscribe for more videos and updates. Thank you.
PENDREAM TV now, so far so good. Say open online portal e wo Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases. PENDREAM TV.